the college has invested in some of these Elmo brand document cameras. And so what the document camera allows you to do is it allows you to show some 3D, three-dimensional, I'm getting some feedback, objects, as well as to do some, you can do writing on paper, you can show textbooks. It's a very high quality 4K camera. So in addition to the ones that they've added to some classrooms, we're calling them smart hybrid classrooms. Some of the classrooms have them. We also have some available through Intech, our Intech services. They're going to be moving towards a new name, a new branding called AV services. But there are equipment checkout window where faculty can check out equipment to use. And so they're going to have several of these Elmo document cameras available for you to reserve. And they're very portable, as you'll see in a minute, to take to your office or even take home to do your either your live session or to do a recording of capturing of content for your course. So let me just share their contact information in the chat for our session here. Again, if you look to the right in your chat window, I'll post the links there right now. So I'm posting in there. That first link there is an email. It's intech@hawaii.edu. Again, they're changing their name in the future to be AV Services, but you can email them and then inquire about borrowing the Elmo that you're going to see today. They'll have a few for checkout. Another way is if you're in one of the smart hybrid classrooms, you can also access the device that way too. But that first one is their email. The second, well, I guess that other link didn't come through, but let me copy it for you and paste it again. This is a link to the Elmo website. So after our presentation today, if you wanted to go back and look at the product, this is a link to the Elmo website. And I can also share these with you through email after our session today as well. And then the other resource which didn't come through, this is an Elmo manual. It's a very well done manual. And why this is nice is it's a PDF document. It includes diagrams. So the diagrams that we're going to be using today came from that manual. So if you wanted to view the manual personally on your own, this is a link to that PDF document, which you can download and then look at the diagrams that we're going to be looking at today on your own computer. You can zoom in and do whatever you want to familiarize yourself with the product. But those are the three things. The Elmo manual link that I shared. Yes, sorry, Rachel. Iban is joining us today. Iban is from the Media Center, and he's one of the folks that could help you with borrowing the Elmo too. So again, the manual link there, the website to the Elmo product, if you just wanted another overview. Hey, Iban, there's Iban's camera. Hey, everybody, Iban. Hopefully can say hi to Iban. We're lucky to have Iban and Rachel here today from the Media Center.
Great.
And then up there again was another link to the email for Intech where you could contact Iban and Garrett and their students to set up, arrange for borrowing the equipment. And then lastly today, if I forget to share, it's a brief link to a survey to give us feedback on today's session. So those resources I wanted to share with you up front so you know you'll get access to them down the road. So as I was saying, the smart hybrid classrooms have it. You can borrow this equipment. The college thought it's important because of what this tool allows you to do, which is to show three-dimensional things or live demonstration type activities, either capture it for later use or live stream it. So I wanted to give an example of an activity that I might do as an instructor. So if you could put on your student hat for a minute, and if you could pretend to be students in my basic electronics class. And so what I would like to show you as a student in my basic electronics class is I would first like to show you a schematic. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about, let me advance my schematic. our bunny thermometer. So this is a basic electronics class, and this is the project that we're going to be working on. So what you're seeing here is a schematic. It shows the technology, which is going to be, in this case, our Arduino board for our project today. And it shows some other components that we're going to need to use for our project, as well as some of the wiring. So the wiring here is represented in yellow and red and black and blue. And what we're going to focus on for this activity this morning is learning about this prototype board here. And the prototype board is what's going to hold our project together and make the connections. In the industry, they have different phases of doing these projects. You have the engineers who design the theoretical, and then you have the people who model it. And once it's been proven, then you have the people who design the circuit board and the actual product. So this comes into play in our activity today because we're going to be implementing the theory of how the electronic circuit should work by putting it together on this prototype board. And so that's what we're going to be learning today, is how this prototype board is connected and how it works. Okay. So this is the actual project that I worked on. It's a three-dimensional project, which I didn't bring to my office today, but you can see that this is the theory of how it connects. And then in the real world, this is what it looks like. Here we have the display, and I named it to be a bunny temperature, but just wanted to show you that it's something actually built and it can be programmed and customized. But then here are the wires that are represented in the schematic that shows you what's supposed to connect to what. Here's the Arduino board back here and the battery down here. Normally there's tons of these little wires jumping around. So it's important that you know how this prototype board works. Okay. So now what I would like to share with you is the actual board, and I'll explain how it works. By the way, happy Chinese New Year.
Oh yeah, happy Chinese New Year.
Year of the ox.
So what kind of year is it supposed to be? Anybody read it already?
Let's hear. Yeah, here. I got it on this nice chart from Xerox.
Okay.
The ox is loyal, responsible, logical, industrious, persistent, honest, faithful, and dedicated to family and work. So, happy year of the ox.
Okay. You too.
Below that here, we have a prototype board. And for the prototype board, you'll notice it's similar to the one in the picture. I also wanted to show you one of the other technologies that we have in the smart hybrid classrooms and also available for loan. And that is this graphics tablet. It's a Wacom graphics tablet. And this works in combination with a stylus like this. It doesn't have any ink, it's just a stylus, but you can use it to do annotations like I'm about to show you. Again, so this is the Wacom tablet. It's available in a hybrid smart classrooms or smart classroom hybrid variety. It's also available for checkout through Intech AV services, but it allows you to do things like I'm about to do for annotating. So this is our prototype board here. And you'll see that across the top, there are these long, like row or strips, right? That particular one I'm outlining in blue. I could change the color and I could do red. So what I'm showing you is across the top and on the bottom, there are these long rows. For interest of time, I'll just stay in red. And these rows are called buses. And these pukas are where you stick the wires. And then in the rows, if you follow the lines that I've drawn on there, they're all connected. So any wire you stick in that top row of pukas are going to be connected electrically. And then that second row of red, they will also be connected along that whole row. But the red and the blue pukas are not connected. So they're two independent rows. Then there's this break here. So there's a small break right around here. Right there, there's a break. Right there, obviously there's a break. And right here, there's a break. So those pukas in the top row are separate from these rows down here. Now these rows are connected this way, vertically, right? So those pukas in that column, those are connected, but just in that grouping. Then there's a break, right? And then there's another row, and those are connected like that. So as you're working on building your circuits today, I would like you to keep the rows in mind so that you don't have a short between two wires that aren't supposed to be connected. Any questions on this prototype board?
Nope.
No?
Oh.
Great.
Brent?
Yes.
So when you're drawing on it, that's with the Wacom one already.
Right. Today I'm demonstrating with the Wacom, but you can also use your mouse like I'm doing right now, and maybe sometimes you can draw nicer with the mouse. Apparently, you can be more accurate. But this, you could use the Wacom or the mouse at the same time. So just demonstrating both. Now, would anybody like to tell me for this top row, does it connect with the bottom row?
No.
Correct. All right. You all passed the activity for today. So don't blow anything up when we go into the lab. All right. So that's a little demonstration of what you can do. With the document camera, three-dimensional objects, you can annotate, right? But you can also do things with the clipboard. So sometimes instructors who might do formulas or diagrams, they might find it easier and faster and more efficient to use a piece of paper or a small whiteboard to do their diagrams on. So here I'm just having a piece of paper with a pen. This document camera, the Elmo document camera, is a very high quality 4K camera, and it can pick up the ballpoint pen really easily. So here you could see if it's faster for me to just draw it, I can draw it with a pen, and you should be able to see it just fine as a student. And I can do my drawing, and I can say, there's a break here, there's a break here, and there's a break here where the things are not connected. And then these rows are obviously connected, like so. And then these are connected like so. So you can do it with a paper, you can write formulas, you could write characters and diagrams and things like that too, because it's a high quality camera. So those are just some of the ways and types of activities you can do with the document camera. So next we're gonna get into learning about the actual document camera. And so this is a, let me first do this. This is a printout from the manual, like I had mentioned earlier. Okay, and I wanted to just show you from this piece of paper, right, physical piece of paper, how the equipment works. So the document camera, it's really portable. It actually folds up really flat. When it's time to use it though, you need to open it up and unfold it. So you bend the arm, it has a hinge there or a pinch point. And then it opens up, like it flips up, and there's a camera head. So be aware that that's the camera. There's pinch points here. It has a very sturdy base. In fact, the base is magnetic. So if you had it next to a refrigerator or a metal wall, you could stick it on a vertical surface and then aim the camera down. So something to think about if that helps you out in your particular lab or situation. The base is magnetic. It also has a good weight to it, so it's a pretty stable base. But be careful of these pinch points so you don't pinch your finger. And you should be familiar with how the camera head flips out, because it's very delicate. You don't want to bend it the wrong way. Speaking of the camera head, down here, this is a diagram of how the camera head can be positioned. Once you flip it up, you can twist it 90 degrees And then you can also rotate the actual camera here to position it accordingly to catch the best angle of whatever the object is that you're trying to capture on your display, your demonstration.
Hmm.
Okay. And so this is another view of what the hardware looks like. The camera head, the pinch points, kind of the diagram of how it opens and unfolds. If you've never opened it before, perhaps you've never experienced the camera head, but it's really compact. So it's important that you don't force it, but that you know how it flips open. It's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with Transformer toys, but they kind of fold up and they have very specific ways that they fold up. It's kind of like that. And again, here's a close-up of the camera head and how it can rotate as well.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll put that off to the side. And then now what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you one of the actual ones. This is kind of like a meta demonstration because I'm using the Elmo to show another Elmo. But this is a sample demonstration Elmo that I have here to show. And as you can see, it's very flat, right? It has a nice weight. Here are the magnetic parts to it. If I had a magnetic table, it would stick to that. Notice that I flipped it over and you can now see that the camera is protected under here. But you can see what I mean by it being very portable. So to open this, you just kind of lift it up like that. And it folds standing up, right, like that. And then this portion here, you push it out very gently like that. It'll only go one way, right? And it kind of flips out like this. And then as you're coming up to the camera part, the camera flips out like this. So you kind of push the camera out and it flips out like that, right? Now for the camera, once it's extended, remember it can, let me do it from the top. The camera could, this portion here can be rotated this way or the other way, right? Like that. Or like this, leave it straight. But then it can also rotate this way. So you could rotate the camera like this. So if I'm showing you from the bottom here, or from maybe from the side, you could rotate the camera like this. So some instructors will use this Elmo as a camera to capture themselves talking. Then they might point it at themselves. And then they might point it down towards the desk to capture the demonstration. And then if they want to capture their students, the audience, they could flip it the other way too. It's a very high quality 4K camera. And so you could use that swivel to capture different things. There is also a microphone built into this, but in the experience of using this device with the microphone, I found that the microphone on my headset provided a better experience to my end participant than the microphone that's built in here. So now what I would like to do is I would like to ask you, let me fold it up a little bit here. If somebody could use the annotation tool and label or draw one of the pinch points of this device. So take a minute, open your annotation tool, and then see if you could, let me see if I can hold it up here. Draw or mark the pinch point of this Elmo document camera. So Gwen, I see that you highlighted purple, and Ichia and Huijin. Yes, great. Okay, now Iban, yep, that's another pinch point there. Let's see. Okay, now if somebody could maybe mark the, let's see, the camera head. So go ahead and circle or mark the camera head. Terrific. All right. You're paying attention.
Wait, wait.
Yeah.
Where am I getting this thing to circle again?
Sorry.
Where am I getting this tool to
Oh,
be
okay.
able to
Right. So at the top of your Zoom window, there's usually a menu that says more options or more
Or view options.
view options. Okay, view options.
view options? Okay.
Yes. And if you click on that menu, it'll drop down and there's an option for annotate. And if you open annotate, then there's a draw feature.
I draw feature.
Yes.
The draw feature. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Click on this.
Yes.
Do I can select a,
You can click on a part of our picture and you can just hold that down and draw on our
There,
picture.
she did it.
I think that was me. Sorry.
Oh.
is that me?
There you go. There you go, Judy. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
right.
you got it.
That's right. So that would be a swivel point right there where you circled. And the camera head would be a little bit further down. The camera head's right there. That's the camera. This, I guess the camera head would be like here. But good job.
Is it right on the edge here? The camera head right here or underneath here?
Yeah, well, I consider this part
The whole
the
thing.
camera head. Yes.
I
The
see.
camera head. The camera is like right there. The lens. This is the lens right here.
What is this thing right here?
This thing.
Down here.
This is just a tab,
Oh, okay.
like a grip,
I
so that you
see.
could swivel it
Uh-huh.
like that. And then this other little thing is a light bulb, a small, like a reading light. It's not very powerful, but it is a light that you can turn on. We'll get to that when we talk about the buttons. So this is the lens. This would be like your handle. I guess the best practice is you don't want to put your finger over here because you get fingerprints on the lens. But so you can grab it here. And then this is the swivel where it swivels on. This part won't swivel, so don't twist this part. Only this part, the camera head will swivel, and that's where the swivel will turn. This part would be to swivel 90 degrees in either direction. This is the other swivel part. So it's important to know where things are going to swivel, like right here and right here and right here, so that you don't put pressure on the wrong spot, you know, and twist it off.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So next, I would like to cover some of the buttons, the basic operations of this. So here we have a diagram, and on top here, this is our button panel or our operations panel here. And some of the operations that it can do, let's see here. This is just a close-up of it. Number one is the power button. So if you were using this as a standalone camera, you might have to turn it on. But if you're using it with the computer, it normally is on for the computer. The computer will recognize it. So you may or may not need to know this power button, but that's what it is. There's a LED there. That's what that oval is. And if that LED is blue, then that means the camera is being picked up by the computer. If you were using it without a computer, it would be green or red. So red would be that it's off, green would be that it's on. But usually if you have it connected to a computer, it's blue. That light there is blue. So that's the power button. Then let's go in this direction. Down here, you have a magnifying glass with a plus sign. So that would help you to zoom in on your object. It is a digital zoom. So at a certain point, it gets distorted. It doesn't really have a lens system in there to focus or zoom in and out. It's a digital zoom. So at a certain point, it does get blurry. But that's what that is, zooming in or out. And then, and then the out part is number 3. This button right here will zoom you out to get a broader view of your desktop. In the middle is the autofocus. It's a single push autofocus. So there is no manual focus. It's autofocus. You press it once and the software will attempt to focus the camera. Then going up the sides here, I guess, the plus and the minus, they are to increase or decrease the brightness. So the plus would make your image appear brighter, and then the minus would make your image appear darker. So you can adjust the brightness and the darkness with these two buttons. And then we have this is the small book lamp that I was talking about here. You can turn it on or off. Depending on how you orient the device, you may need to rotate the image. So without moving the device, you can hit this button and it would rotate the image that's being displayed to the student. If you accidentally have something turned to the side or upside down, you don't have to rearrange your desktop. You can just hit this button and it will rotate your image. And then number 9 is a snowflake or frozen icon. And what that'll do is if you're doing a demonstration, maybe something's moving and then you wanted to annotate something and freeze it even though it's moving, you hit that button and it will temporarily freeze the image so that you can annotate and point out things to the student or talk about it. So then we can skip over to the actual Elmo here. So let me fold it up for our demonstration purposes. So here we can look at the Elmo. And these are the same buttons that I just finished explaining to you about, except in real color. So, it's a touch button. And these are the actual buttons on how you can control it. Okay, now for a quiz, so make sure you're paying attention. If you could annotate which of these I would press to make my image darker. Right. So that one would decrease the image brightness of the image. Good job. What about if I wanted to rotate the image? Yes. And so let me demonstrate that right now with my other Elmo that we're actually looking at. Don't get dizzy. Hopefully you're sitting down. I'm going to turn your world upside down. So that button rotates the image like that. So again, that will help you if you're approaching the Elmo from the opposite direction with your demonstration. You can rotate it by pushing on that button. And then here's this is the freeze button. Like let's say I was moving my finger here, I froze it, and now I could talk about my image and my finger, and then when I unfreeze it, it disappears. Okay.
Can we see how it looks if you turn your Elmo on yourself?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I would rotate it this way because I'm off to the side. And then I would point it to myself. Right now I'm upside down, so I'll rotate my image. And it looks like that.
Okay. So you get a side view there. Okay.
And then if you wanted to show your document, you show your document. And if you wanted to show your students, you just flip it the other way. Like that. And I guess you would have to rotate it again.
You might need some Dramamine for this.
Right. Usually you don't do it that often. I was just reading on the literature and one college recommends it. So I just thought I would share it with you as one thing you could consider. Okay. Then the other thing I wanted to show with you was the ports, so the connections for the device. So these are, if you're looking at the Elmo, it's on the side here. The main ones that you need to be aware of is this one right here. This is the USB port. And what that will do is it will connect to your computer. So usually in the classroom, it's already connected and it should always be connected. But if you are borrowing this for your home, in the box, there's a USB cable and a power cord. Often you don't need the power cord if you're using it with a computer because the computer can get power through the USB here. The USB cable that comes with the Elmo, it has two different ends. Only one end will fit here. And let me zoom in here. You'll see how it has a notch here. So be aware of that when you connect it, that there's a very specific way that it connects. And again, only one end of the USB cable connects there. It does come with a power cord. That would be if you were using the Elmo without a computer, because technically the Elmo can be used with a TV, and that's what this is. This is a HDMI connector right here, or with a projector, straight to a projector, which might be either this VGA or HDMI. So if you're connecting to a TV or a projector, and this one typically would be for some of our older projectors, they use that VGA technology. So USB, most times with a computer here, HDMI for TVs or projectors, and then VGA for older projectors or monitor screens too. And if you were doing just straight to a display, you would probably need to use this power button here to power the Elmo. But if you're using it with a computer, you can just use USB. Okay. And then on the back end here, let me zoom out a little bit. The back end here are three different things. This one is resolution here, but for the most part, it says, you know, HDMI, you can probably see it here, normal, 1080. So that's what you would use for the HDMI and most of the computers. This, you would toggle it to the VGA full if you were using it with some of the older technology like the VGA cable here. It's a lower, slightly lower resolution, I believe. So usually you'd want the toggle to be set to normal 1080. So this is something that's usually set and forget. But if you're having trouble with the image quality, you may want to make sure that that's set to normal 1080. And then in the center here, I guess, this is just a hole for a security cable. So you wouldn't necessarily care about that. It's more for the college when we set these things up and leave it in the classroom. That's where we can secure it to the desk. And then to the right of that is a 60 or a 50 cycles. That's more of a technical switch. Usually you can leave it on the 60. But I guess if you're using it with some different displays, there might be a flicker effect. And so you could change that frequency here. But again, this is another set and forget one that actually many of the things on this side, you don't probably need to worry about. I'm just explaining what it is. And again, this small puka here, that's the microphone. But the microphone quality, it's kind of, it feels like it's an afterthought to this device. So I wouldn't, use that. I would probably use a microphone built into your computer, or if you had a headset, you might have better experience using those microphones rather than this microphone.
And if you have the smart camera up in the classroom, that's good enough.
Right.
Audio?
Actually, that's probably a better microphone, the one in the new Zoom cameras that have been added to the smart hybrid classrooms. Right.
Is there any problem with both the audio mic being on for the computer and interfering with the mic from the from the camera?
Zoom will only allow you to have one at a time.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so let me turn off this sharing. Okay, and then let me share with you my desktop. I guess this one. So for today's demo, and for your demo, there are some supporting softwares that you would use with the hardware. Specifically for today, I'm using Zoom to connect with you, right? Zoom is a nice interface that we're all familiar with and we're comfortable with, and it can be used to record the Elmo as well. When you do the share screen, and then you can record the video that way. You can have students annotate your image and engage with you. So Zoom is one of the core technologies that you can use with Elmo or document cameras. There are different ways to bring it in. So if you're looking at my desktop here, I've enabled you to see all of my windows, so don't be disoriented. But this particular window here for Zoom, what you want to be aware of is the share screen here, you have many options, right, to choose from. Traditional share screen. That's what I was using today. There is, under the advanced tab, content from a second camera, and you could use that to bring in the Elmo document camera as well, right here. However, that feature, for whatever reason, doesn't allow you to annotate on what you're showing your students. So instead of using that advanced content from a second camera, I'm using the basic, right? And I've opened my camera video as a window. So that involves using a second piece of software. On the Windows computer, it's called the camera app. So you can navigate there. Usually I just come down to my Windows and I just go in here. I go search for program down here in the lower left. And then I say camera, and it brings up this icon. And this is the icon for the camera app. Basically, all the camera app does is it brings up a window with a live view from your document camera, which you can then share through Zoom. And in that method, it allows you to do annotations. If you're on a Macintosh, the equivalent to the camera app would be QuickTime. So you would launch QuickTime prior to your class starting, and the QuickTime would bring up a live view, which you then share through Zoom. So you're still using Zoom, but depending on what computer you have, you'd either use QuickTime or the camera app. So this right here, this is the camera app. Oh, sorry, right here. This is the camera app. So this is just basically the live camera, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's a software application, I'm able to select it and share it when I go to share screen. So that's how I was doing the sharing of the document camera and still allowing annotations. So you do Zoom, and then if it's Windows, you can do the camera app, or if you want to use QuickTime, on the Mac, you use QuickTime. If annotation doesn't matter to you, then you can do the other sharing, which is the advanced content from a second camera, and bring in the document camera that way as well. Another reason to know about either camera or QuickTime was if you were not going to use Zoom and you just wanted to do a pre-recording of some content, then you can use the camera app in Windows or the QuickTime app to record the video from the document camera. So that's another reason to be familiar with either camera or QuickTime in the event that you just wanted to record a content prior to a session, or to put into YouTube or what have you, and not record a live session with your students. So you can either use these apps. You can also do a single person Zoom. So if you just log into Zoom yourself and hit record, you could record it that way too. It's important to note that if you're browsing the website for this device on Elmo, they do have a EIT, or Elmo Interactive Toolbox software, that they give you with the product. But I haven't found it as as polished or streamlined as just using the camera app on Windows or the QuickTime app on Mac and Zoom. It seemed a little clunky to me. It's called EIT, the Elmo Interactive Toolbox. It didn't seem as elegant as the other options. So I don't tend to use it. So I would recommend the Zoom app, camera app for Windows, QuickTime app for Mac. There's the 3 softwares that would support using the Elmo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had. If you have any questions, we can talk about it. Again, I can post the session information there in the chat, where you can go to borrow the Elmo from Intech AV Services and experiment or practice using it yourself.
Brent,
Yes.
So is there, when you're doing the Elmo and you're doing it on Zoom, is there any way to, you said there's the freeze aspect of it, but is there any way to take a picture that then we could post for the students? Let's say student isn't there or for students that are absent, we want to have something that we covered, later for them, and like in La Lima someplace. Is there any way to capture a camera image?
Right. So the freeze frame on the Elmo doesn't save it. It's just temporary, right?
Mhm.
But if you were doing something, let's say with again, sharing the camera here, and then if you were doing, let's see, annotate, there is a save button. I guess that one's not showing for you folks, but
Oh, I see.
up at the
Save.
top, there is a save where
Yeah.
you could download the image, or if there was annotations, you could download the image with annotations.
So you would click on that ping. That
You click on, yeah, PNG, yeah,
Mhm.
or PDF too. Either of those are good file
So if I
types.
just clicked on it, then I should have it someplace. Is
Yeah.
it in like the
Yeah.
copy?
If you clicked on save, it says, like in my case, it says show in folder. And if I clicked on show in folder, it looks like it's saving it in my I'm on a Windows computer, in my documents, and it's named screenshot number 1. So that's one way to do it.
Maybe it's just for the host, because when I click on the ping, it's already checked off in mine versus the PDF. But if I click on it, it doesn't go anyplace, and a little pen comes up, pencil.
No, it doesn't go anywhere for me either. It's just that for me, I clicked on show in folder. So when I click on it, it just says save as PNG in green, and then it doesn't go anywhere. It stays where it is. But I clicked an additional step. I clicked on show in folder.
Where do you click on that to show on folder, in folder?
Right next to my save as, right after I click save, it says saved as PNG. And right next to it, it says show in folder.
See, we don't get that.
So okay. So then the instructor,
the host has it.
Right. And then the host would have to share it with the students.
I
Although
see.
there might be a setting in the account that would allow students to save on their own.
Boy, that would be good.
I just might not have that saved, because I have also seen a feature to automatically save annotated screens for you, but I don't have that enabled on my account. So, it might just be something that you have to share.
Settings then to do that? That's all in settings under advanced or something?
Under your Zoom account, it would be under the settings. Yeah.
Okay.
But there might not be one for this, allow students to save.
Okay.
Another option, if you were doing a display through the Windows camera app, right here, down here on the right, down here, is a snapshot.
Wait a minute, what, down where? Can't see where you're going.
Right here on the right.
There's nothing. Oh, wait.
Do you see the red line on the screen there?
Wait a minute.
Here.
There's something in the way. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a camera thing where you could, as the host, you could snap a picture there too.
Okay.
And then share it after the fact with your students. But so that would be,
we're in the camera function then of Windows.
Well, right. I'm showing you this view I'm using that camera feature app.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just for you all to know, because some classes are only taught once a week at night. And so, the person won't be on until the next week or next Monday or whatever.
Yeah, I hear you. Initially though, the reason for several years ago, the reason for that was many of this technology we have to buy from our own budget. And so we don't have the ability to buy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things. So prior to COVID, we would maybe only have 1 or 2 laptops or 1 or 2 cameras to check out. And it was a shared resource. So it really wasn't intended to be taken off of campus for very long because it was shared. Since COVID, we have CARES, so we have a little bit more of these Elmos, but still it's a shared resource. So part of it has to do with if there's other instructors in line, then please bring it back. So it's a shared resource. But if no one's asking for it and you're the only one, maybe we can be more flexible with it. So that's some of the
Well, maybe
logic
there's
behind
a
it.
there's a way, for instance, like if it's a night class taught once a week by a lecturer, that there could be some way that they either leave it in the classroom for somebody else to pick up, or they put it in the social science division,
Yeah, I
office or
should.
something like that for
Yeah.
somebody else to pick it up or deliver it the next day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hear you. And in the past, I think they've done personal, you know, things like that. But keep in mind that in the classroom, it is secured with a cable to the cabinet, but you want to know where it is. Basically, you don't just want to be like, I just left it in the classroom, or I left it.
No, but I'm thinking if there's some way that if they acknowledge that night teaching is different from daytime, that
Sure.
there could be some system developed so that if a night person rents it, takes it out, rents it, that somebody picks it up the next morning in the classroom, or that they bring it to the division office and keep it in there safely.
Right. Yeah. That's not
Something
my
like
area to comment on, but yeah,
pass on.
it's good. It's good feedback, But that's
Yeah.
the times. This is the times we're living in where I believe that they are being a little bit more flexible with the amount of time that people can borrow things. But that's something that you could talk with Iban or Garrett on later on, and because we ultimately want to see it being used, right? I mean, it's no good being locked up and nobody wants to borrow it. So
Right.
ultimately, there's a balance. Yeah. Okay, any other questions about the document camera today? Or the resources that I shared with you?
Just the Wacom.
Yes,
I just
Wacom.
don't know exactly what that's used for, except
Yeah,
what you did very briefly. Is it for anything else, or does it turn on automatically then?
it's a graphics tablet, so it plugs into the computer, and the computer recognizes it. It does have a driver though that we recommend, a software driver that you would install on your computer, and the driver just helps it to make smoother lines, right? But basically what it is it's a tablet. This is it. It connects with the USB cord over here to the computer. It takes the place of, it can take the place of your mouse. So some folks use it for accessibility reasons because maybe they can't hold a mouse and maybe they can't click. This can take the place of a mouse. It does take a little bit of practice because this surface area is scaled to your desktop. So the computer, for example, because I have two screens, this tablet's actually covering both screens. So halfway to the left is one of my screens and the other half is my other screen. So the computer scales this to your desktop basically. And so it does take a little bit of practicing because you're moving the stylus within this half, but this half represents your whole screen. So you have to get used to the proportions of writing on it. But it can take the place of your mouse. You can, because it's a form of a pen or a stylus, you can use it for writing formulas or things that don't lend itself to text font from a keyboard. You can do diagrams with it or annotations with it. So it just basically it's a go between a mouse and a keyboard. But it does, to be honest, it does take a little bit of practice with the proportions of what you're doing because it's a proportion of the screen. So yeah, this is available too if you wanted to try out.
Is that already in like FA 201?
I'm not familiar with FA 201 setup, but it is in the rooms that they retrofitted over the winter break to be smart hybrid classrooms. There were maybe
that one
26
is,
of
but
them.
I just didn't see it. So maybe it's
It's usually in
someplace.
the cabinet with the keyboard and things because
Okay.
again, this is also something that could walk off really easily.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's usually locked in the cabinet.
Okay. I saw it come up on the computer itself as some option, but I didn't know what it was connected to. So this is nice to realize that there's probably something back in the cupboard someplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
This-
So it's great for annotating, or if you're doing formulas in a or foreign language learning characters, those types of environments.
Mhm. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
All right. Well, that's all I had. Thanks for joining today. If you don't have any other questions,
Thank you.